Imagine this. You're at a party, in a bar, or just walking down the street, and suddenly you spot an incredible woman. She's not just beautiful, her energy grabs you. You feel that spark. You decide to approach. The conversation flows. She laughs. There's intense eye contact. Everything seems perfect. But then, the next day, she vanishes. She doesn't respond to your messages, shows no interest. It's like you never even existed. You start wondering, what went wrong? Did you not impress her enough? Did you say something that pushed her away? Or is she just one of those women who plays with attention? Here's the truth. It's not about your looks, your status, or even the conversation itself. It's something far more subtle. Something you said, or something you didn't say. Most guys think attraction is all about appearance, money, or having an interesting personality. But the reality is different. What truly makes a woman unable to stop thinking about you is how you trigger her imagination, how you spark her curiosity, and most importantly, how you make her feel without her even realizing it. And the worst part? If you don't understand this, you'll be stuck in the same old cycle. Women who seem interested at first, but then ignore you like you never mattered. The good news is, there's a solution. There are certain phrases, attitudes, and small details in how you communicate that can make a woman obsessed with you, even when you're not around. And the best part? These are proven principles, backed by psychology and used by some of the most charismatic and attractive men in the world. Today I'm going to reveal exactly what you need to do so that a woman can ignore you, so that she remembers you even when she tries not to, so that you become the exception in a world full of men who say the same things, do the same things, and end up in the same gray zone of oblivion. Once you master this, her perception of you will change forever. So stay tuned until the very end, because what you're about to learn could change the way you interact with women forever. Most men make the same mistake over and over again without realizing it. When they meet a woman they like, they try to impress her. They talk about their achievements, their job, how much money they make, how many trips they've been on, their car, their workouts. They think that if they show how interesting they are, she'll be attracted. But here's the trap. The more you try to impress her, the more you come across as needy for her validation. Women can sense it. If you try too hard to prove your worth, what you're really communicating is that you don't think you're enough. And ironically, that makes you less attractive. Imagine two men on a date with the same woman. The first man immediately starts talking about his life. I'm an engineer, I own my own business, I travel a lot, I recently went to Europe. The second man, on the other hand, simply smiles and says, "You've got an interesting energy, but I'm not sure if you're as fun as you seem." Who do you think she's going to remember? The first man gave all the information away instantly. There's nothing left to discover, no mystery. Her only option is to decide if she likes him or not. The second man, however, sparks her curiosity. He's not trying to impress her, he's making her think. Strauss explains it perfectly in The Game. Women aren't attracted to men who seek their approval. They're attracted to those who spark their imagination, those who make them wonder what's behind the surface, those who create unpredictable emotions. Here's the key. Don't try to impress her. But then, how do you do that? What can you say so that she can't get you out of her mind, even after you've left? That's exactly what I'm about to reveal. People want what they feel they can't have. It's a basic principle of human psychology. The more inaccessible or challenging something seems, the more we want it. And this is no different when it comes to attraction. But here's the problem. Most men do exactly the opposite. When they meet a woman they like, they try too hard to show it. They give excessive compliments, show too much interest, and in a matter of minutes they've laid all their cards on the table. What happens next? She loses interest. Not because you're not attractive, or because she doesn't like you, but because there's no mystery left. She's already figured you out in minutes. Strauss explains in The Game, women aren't attracted to men who give themselves away too easily. They're attracted to those who spark their imagination, those who activate their curiosity, those who make them wonder what's behind it all. The most successful pickup artists in the world discovered a technique called subtle negation, which involves making a comment that indirectly challenges the other person instead of offering immediate validation. For example, imagine you're talking to a woman and she mentions her favorite movie. Instead of saying, "Wow, I love that movie too," what most guys would do, you could respond with something like, "I don't know if you love it that much. It's probably a bit of a cliché." That simple phrase makes her brain activate in a different way. She's no longer in the position to be validated by you. Now she feels the need to defend her point of view. In that moment, without realizing it, she invests more in the conversation, trying to convince you. And most importantly, now she's thinking about you. The same thing happens when instead of saying, "You're amazing," you say, "You're interesting, but I'm still not sure if you're my type." That small difference completely changes the dynamic. You're not rejecting her, but you're not giving her everything on a silver platter either. You're leaving her with doubt, uncertainty, and her mind will try to resolve it. And here's where the magic happens. When someone feels their value is being evaluated, their natural instinct is to prove they're worth it. That's how the human ego works. And when a woman starts thinking about how she can impress you, she starts associating emotions with you. It's no coincidence that the most passionate love stories begin with obstacles or challenges. We see it in movies, novels, and real life. When someone feels they have to work to earn another person's attention, that attraction becomes stronger. This isn't manipulation, it's simply understanding how attraction works. When something isn't easy to obtain, we value it more. And now that you understand this principle, the question is, how can you apply it in different situations so that a woman can't get you out of her mind? That's exactly what I'll show you in the next part. Women don't fall for what you say, they fall for how you make them feel. This is one of the most powerful rules Neil Strauss uncovered in his research on attraction. Most men believe that to win a woman over, they need to find the perfect words, the most elaborate compliments, or the most interesting stories. But the truth is, the words themselves aren't what matter. What truly makes the difference is how those words trigger her emotions. Here's where the neuroscience of attraction comes in. Every time someone experiences an intense emotion, whether it's intrigue, surprise, or even a slight challenge, her brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure and reward. And when she associates a conversation with you with that feeling of excitement, she'll start to link you to that addictive sensation. But the key isn't just saying anything, it's knowing how to say it and which emotions to awaken at the right moment. Here are 3 types of phrases that activate her emotions and make her feel something special when she's with you. First, subtle provocation. This is a phrase that plays with ambiguity, making her wonder whether it's a compliment or a challenge. A perfect example is, "There's something about you that makes me think you're trouble, but the kind of trouble it's worth falling for." Why does it work? Because it introduces a slight uncertainty. You're not directly saying you like her, you're leaving doubt in the air. This makes her mind try to figure out what you really think about her, and that process keeps her thinking about you even after the conversation. Second, emotional mystery. People are drawn to stories, especially if we feel there's something hidden waiting to be discovered. Here's where you can use a phrase like, "I feel like there's an incredible story behind that smile, but I'm not sure I want to hear it yet." This phrase is powerful because it combines 2 irresistible elements, curiosity and exclusivity. Not only does it hint that she has an interesting story, but it also implies that you decide whether or not you want to hear it. This completely shifts the dynamic, because instead of showing that you're desperate to know her, you're giving her a small challenge, making her want to reveal more about herself to you. Finally, playful challenge. Many women are used to men trying to win them over with compliments and constant validation. But if you want to stand out, the best thing you can do is flip the situation and present a playful challenge. A perfect phrase for this is, "I'm not sure if we could hang out yet. I'm not sure if I'd like you." This immediately triggers her brain. Most men try to win her approval from the very start, but here it's you who's evaluating whether she's interesting enough for you. This small change will make her wonder, what do I need to do to impress him? All of these phrases have one thing in common. They trigger emotion in her brain. And when someone associates a strong emotion with another person, that emotion becomes an unconscious bond that keeps her thinking about you, even when you're not around. But here's the key question. How can you use these phrases in a conversation without sounding forced or rehearsed? Attraction isn't about trying to convince a woman that you like her. In fact, the more you try to get her approval, the less attractive you become. One of the most powerful principles Neil Strauss discovered in his research on seduction is that the most desired men aren't those who seek a woman's approval, but those who don't need it at all. Think about the men who generate the most attraction. They aren't the ones trying to please everyone or bending over backward to get attention. They're the ones who project a sense of control, calm, and the knowledge that they are the prize. But here's where most men fail. They think that to attract a woman, they have to prove how interested they are in her. Then they shower her with compliments, text her constantly, try to impress her, and end up killing the attraction without even realizing it. This is the over-effort mistake. When a man tries too hard, the message he's really sending is, "You're more valuable than me. Please give me your validation." And here's the key. A person who doesn't need validation is infinitely more attractive than someone who desperately seeks it. So how do you apply this principle without seeming uninterested or distant? This is where two extremely powerful techniques come in. The first is the Gatsby effect. Have you noticed how the most charismatic people don't rush when they speak? They take their time, they stay calm, and they don't feel the need to fill every awkward silence. When you talk quickly or try to force the conversation, you project anxiety. But when you speak slowly, with composure, without fear of silence, you project confidence and high status. It's a subtle change, but it has a massive impact on how a woman perceives you. If you speak with calm and control, her brain automatically associates that with power and self-assurance. The second technique is the space game. Here's the golden rule. If you want a woman to think about you, give her space to do so. If you're always available, always responding immediately, always the first to text, you never give her the chance to miss you. The key is knowing when to pull back at the right moment. Neil Strauss shares in the game how he used this technique to make a woman chase him instead of him chasing her. At a party, he had an incredible conversation with a woman, but instead of staying with her the entire night, he decided to withdraw at the highest point of the interaction, when she was still interested and wanted to keep talking. He left her wanting more. The next day, she was the one who sought him out. This happens because the human brain tends to remember what's left unfinished. When you leave at the best moment, you create a sense of anticipation and a need to close the cycle. And when a woman feels she needs more from you, her attraction skyrockets. Superficial relationships are easy to forget. They're the empty conversations, the generic compliments, the laughter with no substance. But deep connections, those are unforgettable. Here's the difference between a guy who's interesting for a while and a guy a woman can't get out of her mind: emotional depth. Neil Strauss discovered that the key to becoming truly unforgettable isn't about saying the right things or having the best looks. It's about how you get her to emotionally connect with you. And for that, you need to apply a powerful principle: calculated vulnerability. When someone shares a personal story, something authentic, something they don't reveal to just anyone, it automatically creates a stronger bond. But there's a big difference between showing vulnerability in an attractive way and seeming needy or insecure. This is where most men fail. They think that to connect with a woman, they have to share their problems, fears, and failures, but they do it from a place of weakness, seeking pity instead of admiration. The key is sharing something authentic but with control, something that shows your depth without making it seem like you need her to console you. Neil Strauss used this in the game, telling impactful stories from his life but always with an intriguing twist. Instead of saying something like, "It was hard for me to socialize because I was so shy," he would tell it in a more compelling way. "There was a time in my life when I couldn't even order a coffee without feeling uncomfortable, but I discovered a trick that changed everything." That small change transforms a story of weakness into a story of transformation. And transformation stories are addictive. Here's a practical exercise to achieve this in a conversation. Instead of asking the typical questions like, "What do you do?" or "What do you like to do?" change the dynamic with something that makes her reflect. For example, if you had to choose one moment in your life that truly changed you, what would it be? This kind of question triggers her brain to respond differently. She's not answering automatically, she's accessing emotional memories. And here comes the most important part. When she opens up emotionally to you, She subconsciously associates that feeling with you. This is the tension point. If you pull this off, she will associate her most intense emotions with you, and when someone links their deepest emotions to someone else, they become impossible to forget. Words have power. They don't just communicate information. They can create an emotion, a doubt, or even an obsession in someone's mind. And when it comes to attraction, a single, well-crafted phrase can make a woman think about you for days, even if you only spoke for a few minutes. But for this to work, the phrase must have 3 key ingredients: curiosity, mystery, and challenge. If you simply say, "I like you," she will take it as just another compliment and forget about it in minutes. But if instead you say something like, "There's something about you that feels familiar, but I'm still not sure if it's a good or dangerous thing," her brain goes into analysis mode. Why? Because this phrase activates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, a sense of incompleteness that the brain tries to resolve automatically. First, you leave her with a doubt. Why does she feel familiar to you? Then you introduce an element of intrigue. Good or dangerous? What does that mean? The most interesting part is that you're not giving her a clear answer, and that's what makes it so effective. The human brain hates uncertainty. When something is left unresolved, the mind keeps processing it endlessly, and the more it thinks about it, the more importance it gives it. Here's the expected reaction. At first, she'll smile and maybe try to figure out what you meant. Hours later, that phrase will keep lingering in her mind. She'll wonder if you really remind her of someone, if you meant it seriously or if you were just playing around. And most importantly, every time she thinks about that phrase, she'll think about you. This isn't just a verbal trick. It's a psychological tool that creates a connection in her mind. And when something intrigues us, we tend to want more. So now that you know this phrase, the question is, how can you use it at the right moment to create even more impact? Using the phrase at the right moment is what truly makes its impact last. It's not just about what you say, but when and how you say it. The key is to drop it when the conversation is at its peak, not at the beginning, not when you've just met, but when there's already a connection, when the chemistry is in the air and she's already feeling some level of interest in you. Imagine this. You've been talking, the conversation is flowing, there are laughs, eye contact, that feeling that something is happening between you two. And right there, instead of continuing with the regular small talk, you lower your tone a bit, pause, look her in the eyes, and say with a slight smile, "There's something about you that feels familiar, but I'm still not sure if it's a good or dangerous thing." That moment of silence after the phrase is key. You give her space to process it, to react. That small moment of uncertainty is what makes it powerful. She might smile, try to joke about it, or ask you what you mean. And there, instead of giving her a clear answer, you simply change the subject or keep the conversation going as if nothing happened. That will make her think about the phrase even more, because when something is left unresolved, the brain retains it, analyzes it, and tries to solve it. And every time she does that, she'll be thinking about you. Now, with this knowledge in your hands, tell me, which one of these phrases will you try first? Leave it in the comments. I want to know which one you think will have the most impact. And if you want to take this to the next level, subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because in the next video I'll reveal something even more powerful. How to make a woman chase you. See you in the next video, where you'll learn something that could change your life forever.